Hey guys, how's it going? Today we're going to do the unboxing and overview of the OneNetbook OneGX. So this is a small laptop or netbook or UMPC, however you want to call it, that's mostly focused on doing some light gaming. So OneNetbook is a company that has been in the current modern UMP space for a while. I guess people who follow the UMP space know that there's basically only a few Chinese players in the space right now. Originally, this segment of the computer industry was started by Japanese companies, right? Like Sony and Toshiba, Fujitsu, those kind of companies. But now it's been taken over mostly by Chinese companies. So GPD is the main one. They make the GPD Pocket, which I did an unboxing of before, and 1 and 2, and they did the GPD P2 Max, which I'll do a video on someday, and the GPD WinMax, which was just released recently. So the GPD WinMax was basically, as the name implies, a larger version of the GPD Win. So that one did pretty well in the market, and a lot of reviewers have praised it. So OneNetbook saw this, so they wanted to make a competitor to the GPD WinMax. So they came out with the OneGX right here. Now, keep in mind, this is not meant to be a replacement for one of those big gaming laptops, right? So it's obviously not going to compete against that. It's not going to compete against an Alienware or Razer Blade or a MSI or Asus or something. This is meant to do some light gaming. So keep this in mind, it's still running integrated graphics, right? So you can think of it more like a kind of a competitor to the Nintendo Switch, not necessarily competing with one of those big PC gaming laptops or something like that. So if you just want a small, light, portable system, then the GPD WinMax and this one, the OneGX, I think that's what they're meant for. Kind of like an alternative, right, to the Nintendo Switch. So anyways, I got the box here right now. It is a very expensive computer. The WinMax is around, I believe, $900 to $1,200, so it's pretty expensive. That's around the price range of a normal Ultrabook, like high-end Ultrabook or MacBook even. So this one is similar. It's $950 I paid for this. Comes with the controllers, which are detachable, by the way. This is something that's very different from the WinMax. And yeah, let's actually just get through unboxing, and I'll give up the specs as I pull out the laptop. So anyways, this is the box. What I noticed is that in the box it doesn't actually come with the controllers. So the controllers actually got shipped separately to me. So I don't know if this is the final thing, because maybe I just pre-ordered it and I got a very early version, but I think the future boxes should have the controllers inside the box, right? Because if there's no controllers that come with this, then there's no point, right? Then it's just a UMPC, but it's not like a gaming UMPC, right? So I guess this is the box for just the laptop itself. Maybe it's because I pre-ordered it or something, but maybe future boxes will come with a separate box for the controller. I don't know, or maybe it'll come in a different box. But anyways, I got this laptop, and then I got the controller shipped separately to me. So maybe this is just because I'm one of the early people who pre-ordered this laptop, but maybe in the future they should all come in one box, so it's going to be a better unboxing experience. Anyways, here's the laptop itself. Yeah, so the computer is a nice teal color, which is very atypical of UMPCs, and the weight is actually pretty nice as well. It's definitely very light. You can easily hold it with one hand, or even hold it in the palm of my hand right here. It's advertised as weighing about 1.4 pounds, which is, you can think of that as just like an iPad or something like that. Definitely pretty light, and also very small and portable as well. So I will do kind of a size comparison, because I have some of my other UMPCs on hand here. First of all, let's take a look at the ports. So if you look at the side here, so on this side you get a SIM card slot. So it's actually an optional thing, but you can buy a version that uses 4G LTE. So you can put in your SIM card here, and this is also where the micro SD card slot is going to be as well. So it's all in one tray, just like what they do with a few phones these days, right? They put the micro SD in the same tray as the SIM card. So it's there. Nothing on the front. And then on the side here you get a micro HDMI out. And then on the back you see you have these. This design is very, very similar to the Alienware M15, the new redesign. So a lot of people have noticed that already. These LEDs do light up when you turn up the computer. So again, this this part here, the design of this OneNetbook OneGX1 is going to be fairly similar to a mini version of the Alienware M15. So it's like a shrunken version of the M15, which is interesting. I have the M15, right? So it's definitely interesting how they kind of copied the design, especially for the back here, right? With the light up LED in kind of this circle arrangement with these grills. Even the grill placement is very, very similar to the Alienware, but just a very, very shrunken mini version of it, I guess. But yeah, we have a charging USB-C port right here, full-size USB-A, just one, and we have another USB-C. I'm not sure if it's Thunderbolt or not. It doesn't seem to have the Thunderbolt sign though, and a headphone jack. So it would be a shame if it's not Thunderbolt though, because I think for the computer this small that has, you know, limited space for ports, I would definitely like it to be Thunderbolt. And then the bottom of the computer right here, you can see that obviously made in China, just like every other computer. A Core i5 10th gen sticker right here, and the grill, and then you can see on the sides here, the sides, you can see that there's these attachment slots. This is actually meant for attaching the controller, so that's actually how it works. So unlike the GPD Win Max, which has the controllers and controls actually built into the computer and there's no way to remove it, on the OneNetbook OneGX, there's a way to actually detach these controllers so that you can use this just as a normal UMPC, right? So you don't have to use it with the controllers. You have the option to detach them Nintendo Switch style, and then, you know, obviously attach them when you're using them for gaming. So that's a pretty cool option as well. That's part of the reason why I chose this over the GPD Win Max. I haven't actually got the GPD Win Max yet, and it would be nice to do a comparison between the two to see which one's actually, you know, more powerful. I do think that the GPD Win Max might still beat this in a lot of tests when I look at the reviews online, but I chose to get the OneNetbook one just because of the versatility. You can choose to use this as a laptop or choose to use this as kind of a gaming machine, right? It's optional because of the Switch style attachments right here. So that's kind of interesting. Alright, so I'm going to do a size comparison. I have with me my OneMix Yoga 3. So this is the OneMix Yoga 3 right here, and just for size comparison, you can see this is a GPD micro PC right here. I actually heard that OneMix or OneNetbook is coming out with a competitor to this one as well. So they're coming up with another UMPC that's going to be a competitor for the GPD micro PC, because this one is mostly meant for like engineers and field work and stuff like that. That's why they have a serial port. It actually has a whole bunch of ports here. And I heard that OneNetbook is making a UMPC to compete with this. It's going to be convertible though, because, you know, OneMix's thing is that they make convertible computers, but unlike the Yoga, which uses a Lenovo Yoga type of 360-degree flip hinge for the convertible factor, the new one's going to use an old school style swivel form factor. So that's going to be pretty interesting because we haven't seen that swivel style convertible form factor since like 2012, right? That was a really old school convertible form factor, which honestly I like, because I think, as I mentioned in my I mentioned this in my laptop overview collection 3 years ago when I had the HP EliteBook Revolve, right? I had the Revolve, which was an 11-inch laptop that had the swivel style. It was a convertible that had the swivel style screen, which you don't really see anymore. And the thing I like about that type of screen is that even though it puts a lot of pressure on the hinge, you can actually show your presentations and documents to your to a coworker or something like that, or your friend, right? Or your video, right? If you have a video playing, you can show it to your friend quickly by twisting the screen and then twisting it back around, right? So it's a little bit more versatile, even though it's not as robust as having the 360-degree hinge. So I kind of miss that convertible form factor. So it's cool that OneNetbook is bringing back that form factor in a way with the new UMPC that they're building to compete with this one. So I'm excited to see what they come out with there. So yeah, micro PC is definitely one of the smallest UMPCs I have. And then there's a GPD Win 2. So this one is even smaller than the micro PC. You can see that it's not quite as lengthy as the micro PC and just as wide. So this one definitely one of the smallest UMPCs as well. So the micro PC Win 2 definitely among the smallest. And yeah, you can see that the OneNetbook OneGX is right in between. So you have the OneMix Yoga 3, which is an 8-inch computer, right? There's an 8.4-inch computer. Then the OneGX1, this one is actually a 7-inch computer. And then the GPD micro PC on top of that, which is a 6-inch computer. And then the Win2, which is also a 6-inch computer on top of that. So that's basically how the sizes work out. If you guys are curious how the OneNetbook OneGX compares in size to other UMPCs, there you have it. It is definitely about the same length as the OneMix Yoga, but not as wide. And then if you're talking about the micro PC, it is definitely not as small as the micro PC or the GPD Win2. So yeah, if you want to have a bigger computer, then definitely get the GPD offerings, right? The P2 Max is definitely bigger than the OneMix Yoga 3. The WinMax is definitely bigger than the OneNetbook OneGX. So if you want the bigger displays, then go for the GPD offerings. What I think OneNetbook is trying to do is they're trying to make, they're not directly competing on the size. They're just trying to make a smaller computer that also offers its own unique features, right? So OneMix Yoga 3, right, not as big as the P2 Max, but it's convertible and has an extra row of keys compared to the P2 Max. And then the OneNetbook OneGX, this one is not directly competing with the WinMax in terms of the size, but it's giving you the optional switch style controllers that you can attach and detach from it. So that's something that the WinMax can't do. So yeah, anyways, let's go over the specs for this thing. The base model at $950 has a 7-inch 1920 by 1200 display with a 10th gen Intel Core i5 CPU. This is the 10210Y, which is a Core M style CPU. So yeah, this is definitely one of those low wattage CPUs that Intel offers. So this is noticeably not as powerful as the GPD WinMax, because the GPD WinMax runs a Core i5 1035G7, which is a Ice Lake CPU, which means it should have better graphic power as well. And that one's a full 15-watt TDP CPU. So that one is one that's run by a lot of modern-day Ultrabooks. Whereas this CPU, the Core i5 10210Y, this is a Comet Lake CPU that's running at 7 watts. That's like half the wattage of the CPU in the GPD WinMax. So I actually don't expect this to be, definitely don't expect it to be as powerful as the GPD WinMax. So I think OneMix is trying to make something that's not directly competing with the WinMax. So like I said, definitely not as big as the WinMax is. The WinMax is definitely has a bigger display, and it's a bigger computer. I mean, still, the WinMax is a UMPC, so it's still, you know, smaller than most laptops and stuff, but this is definitely smaller, and the CPU is not as powerful. However, the price is still around the same price, so it'll be interesting to compare the two once I get the WinMax in for review. But yeah, $950 the base model. Actually, all the models, I believe, have the CPU, but the base model comes with 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. And this goes up all the way up to $1,200. $1,200 gets you 16 gigs of RAM and 512 gigabyte of storage plus 4G. And so you're basically paying $50 more if you want the 4G capability or not. I'm guessing that's the LTE modem. So I don't really need it because these days having a 4G LTE modem isn't too necessary because you have a phone, right? Most people have smartphones that can do hotspot tethering. So the only advantage of having this would be if you want to save your smartphone's battery, right? Because if you're running hotspot, you're usually using up the phone battery. So this will save you from having to do that. So that would be the only advantage. So I didn't pay $50 more to get 4G. But yeah, $950 goes all the way to $1,200. Very expensive. So we want to see if the performance is actually worth it. We know that the spec sheet on paper doesn't seem to be a match for the WinMax, but I'll have to do some testing on that. Alrighty then, before I open up this laptop, let's look at some of the other things in the box here. It's going to be very fast, it's not a whole lot more. So we get instructions here, which I'm guessing is the quick start guide. So yeah, this is going to be, it says OneNetbook here, some QR code to download some apps maybe, and then this is, I'm guessing it's the quick start guide. Okay, so anyways, yep, that's all there. Chinese instructions and English instructions, I think. Yep. This is originally a Chinese company. You know, most of the UMPC makers these days are Chinese now. kind of a shame, you know. I kind of want the Japanese to get back into UMPCs, but it is what it is. That's the way our economy has headed. Alright, and then you get the, well, it feels like an adapter here. So yeah, definitely USB-C cable right here, and the charging, yep, the charger, it's the wall plug. So yeah, that's it. It charges with USB-C, and I guess the advantage of having a 7-watt CPU is that it doesn't really need too much power to charge it. So it should last longer. The battery should last longer than the GPD WinMax because of that, right? Because it's using a lower wattage CPU. And the screen it's driving is also lower as well, because the WinMax has an 8-inch CPU, this one only has a 7-inch CPU. So, alright, let's open up this bad boy right here. And here's what it looks like. So again, you can tell that the design is a little bit similar to the OneMix Yoga for these buttons right here in the optical track point nub. This is something that the OneMix Yoga has always had, but the keyboard itself and the design of the exterior as well have all been inspired by the Alienware M15. So you can see even the hinge right here, right? Even the hinge is very reminiscent of the Alienware M15, as well as obviously the back, like I mentioned. The grills and the LED kind of circle lighting right here, that design, that UFO design, very similar to the Alienware M15. Just a shrunken, you know, mini version of it. And even the keyboard, right? The keyboard here is very stuck together. There's no chiclet keyboard here. Every keyboard is squished in. So this actually reminds me of the old school Alienwares, right? The new Alienwares actually do have a chiclet keyboard, but the old school Alienwares, the old 15R3 that I have, that I had a few years ago, has this kind of keyboard with all the keys kind of squished in together like this. This is a very old school type of keyboard, but I have to say that the keys are pretty snappy feeling. Obviously not a very good typing experience because it's so cramped, but OneNetbook did manage to fit. They managed to fit the 6 rows in, right? Like the GPD P2 Max only had 5 rows. This is a whole 6-row keyboard. Obviously some compromises had to be made, so some keys had to be left out. But it does retain most of the keys, and it's fairly snappy, I think. I really wish the arrow keys were bigger though. These were definitely too small. The arrow keys are definitely too small for something that's supposed to be a gaming UMPC, because the arrow keys are used a lot in games, at least from the games I play. So that's kind of a disappointment. The WASD key is probably what most people care about, and these keys are fine. But yeah, these keys, well, might not matter too much anyways because of the controllers. But still, if you're doing office work or anything else on this computer, having a bigger size arrow keys would be definitely nicer. And there's special keys for this fan, I guess. This is for turning on the fan. And this is another fan. I guess this is to speed up the fan. This is like a second setting for the fan, I'm guessing. Anyways, that's the keyboard here. Definitely not the best keyboard. Not the most comfortable keyboard that I've used, but not the worst either, right? Definitely far from the worst UMPC keyboard I've used. It's definitely better than the one on the Fujitsu UH900, right? And those old UMPC keyboards, those are really, really bad. This is definitely better than that. And honestly, for a 7-incher, yeah, it's okay. I'm guessing, unlike the Win 2 or the Micro PC, these ones are meant for thumb typing. You can't really use them like on a table or anything. You have to use them with your thumbs. This one, I guess you could use it on the table. It's not something you have to use with your thumbs. You could also use this with your thumbs. The keyboard is cramped enough. The keys are cramped enough so that you can reach them with your thumb. Right? Both of my thumbs can actually reach the middle, which means that you can actually use them for thumb typing as well. But you can also use them on a table. Yeah, it's just you have to be careful because the keys are they're so squished, right? You gotta be careful not to mispress accidentally. Like for example, these two buttons here, they're not uniform size, right? So like this one, the left bracket is the key is bigger than the right bracket, so this will kind of throw you off. Really, I think that they should have made the arrow keys bigger, so the arrow keys are definitely going to throw you off as well. And the shift key, very, very tiny shift key right here. So for table typing, it's doable. Like unlike the Win2 or the GPD Micro PC, you can still do it. It's just not going to be optimal for sure, because you might mispress some keys due to how small they are. The arrow keys up here, half height, right? Very, very small, so not easy to hit either. Or you might mishit them accidentally. I think for thumb typing, maybe I would prefer to do maybe thumb typing on this, because just if I'm table typing, the touch typing and stuff, it's just, you can't really do it because the layout is so weird and different, and the keys are so smushed, it's easy to accidentally hit something. So that's just going to be my first impression of this keyboard here. And then you have the 7-inch display here, like I said, 1920 by 1200. It is a 1610 display. I believe there's a webcam down here. Seems like a webcam anyways. Yeah, that's pretty much it about the design. Let's unbox let's open up the controllers here that I was given. So this came in a separate package. This came with a separate manual here. This is for the OneNetbook GX controllers, right? These are Bluetooth controllers, so that's kind of a disappointment. So that's one advantage that the WinMax will have over this this setup, is because these are Bluetooth controllers, which means that there might be some input lag or latency, whereas the GPD WinMax have the controllers embedded into the laptop itself, so it's just going to be direct. There wouldn't be any input lag or latency there, or if you directly connect something to the port, I guess you could do it. But these are Bluetooth controllers, so they're going to be some input or a latency compared to the WinMax's controllers. WinMax's controllers, right, they're all actually on the laptop itself, so the advantage of that is that you get a direct connection to the motherboard, so you get pretty much no input lag there. Disadvantage, of course, is that you have to use those controllers, right? You have to deal with those controllers being on the laptop, whether you use them or not, right? Whereas in this design, you have Bluetooth controllers, which is going to give you some input latency or lag. I'll have to test that out, but it seems like it will. And so that's a disadvantage. The advantage being that it's optional, right? You can attach them when you need them and detach them when you don't need them. Okay, so let's attach them there. You just put them on the back here, and then you just slide it in. So like that, you slide it in. This one, attach on the back, slide it in. So like Nintendo Switch style, right? That's basically a new trend, is that a lot of companies are making Switch style controllers now. So these are okay. The analog sticks are okay, a little bit stiff. I have to say that overall the buttons here are a little bit cheap feeling. They feel very, very plasticky. The controller in general feels kind of plasticky, right? The buttons, especially you have LB, LT buttons and RB and RT buttons here as well, but they all feel very plasticky. And even the D-pad, like this D-pad here is weird. They're so small, right? The keys here are so small. That's kind of weird here. Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of plasticky feeling. Doesn't feel very good. So it feels like that OneNetbook cheaped out on this controller, even though I haven't tested it yet. I'll have to test it to see if there is like an input lag or latency and see how the keys feel and the buttons feel. But just from my perspective, holding this in my hand and using them, it feels kind of cheap. The analog stick is okay. It's a little bit stiff, but I like the analog sticks better than these buttons here. But these buttons feel very plasticky and cheap feeling. So that's my first impressions of these controllers right here. So comparing this to my other Nintendo Switch style controllers, I have the Razer Jungle Cat here and the Nintendo Switch itself. So when I hold the Nintendo Switch, these controls here and these buttons feel very, very comfortable, very tactile, very, very easy to just feel out, right? They got a nice clicky feel to them, and I'm just comfortable using them and playing them. Obviously you can tell they're very high quality. So yeah, just the Nintendo Joy-Con controllers, right? This is pretty much the standard. Very nice feeling. Not as good feeling as the Pro controller, that's a different story. But for a handheld console, these controls are pretty good. And then the Razer Jungle Cat, maybe not quite as good as Nintendo in terms of the overall comfort level, but definitely they nail the feel. So the very, very tactile, clicky feeling buttons right here. Yeah, so it's very close to the joypad, I feel like. So the Razer did a pretty good job as well. So the Jungle Cat feels very, very close to the Nintendo Switch controllers. So definitely pretty good ones as well. Yeah, I just like these buttons, very, very clicky and tactile feeling. Not quite as comfortable as the Nintendo Switch style controllers to hold in the hand, but it comes close in the buttons and the analog controls, the sticks and everything. Yeah, definitely very nice, very clicky feeling. So not cheap feeling at all, by the way. When it comes to these controllers though, the OneMix, sorry, I keep saying OneMix, the OneNetbook GX, the OneNetbook OneGX, what a mouthful. These controllers do not feel on the same level as the Joy-Cons and the Jungle Cat. They just feel, I don't know, like I said, the analog sticks stiffer. These are definitely better than the buttons here, but they feel a little bit stiff. And just these buttons here, yeah, they don't feel as tactile or as comfortable to hold or comfortable to use, and they just feel cheap. Yeah, it's just cheap feeling, right? It just feels like something that came from a cheap Chinese company. Not to say that OneNetbook is a cheap Chinese company, because they're not, but these controllers feel like they're made by a different company or something. Like from one of those really cheap Amazon Chinese companies or Taobao companies, right? They don't feel like they were made by OneNetbook or up to their usual standards. Anyways, now when I have the controllers on here, you can feel like this is definitely a pretty interesting UMPC. This is actually something I might have seen before, years and years back. I don't actually own one of these UMPCs, but I saw some in like a render concept or something. Was it some netbook from China, some UMPC from China like 10 years ago or something like that, made some concept similar to this. I saw in some concept photos online and kind of just floated around online. I've never actually seen this kind of UMPC in person though until now, right? Definitely have seen this concept before. Having a small computer like this that runs Windows, netbook or UMPC, and then having controllers on the side like this. Definitely have seen this concept around, but I've never actually felt one in person until now. So it's pretty interesting. And you know, there's other companies and devices like GPD makes the XD Plus, the JXD, right? A lot of these companies make these retro gaming style machines that kind of have this form factor, but they run Android, right? This is the first time I've held one of these devices that run Windows, so that's pretty interesting as well. So you can do all your typing on here, and then you have these controllers on the side here for gaming. So that is pretty interesting in itself. And yeah, 3 status indicator lights here, and of course they're using their new power button right here. So the OneMix Yoga had the power button right here, and now with the OneGX1, they have the power button right in the middle. This is again kind of very similar to the Alienware, because the Alienware used to have the Alienware head logo right here, right just above the keyboard, and I guess they took that as well. But yeah, the optical pad, this is definitely from the OneMix Yoga. So it's like an Alienware Area 51M or an Alienware M15 that's been miniaturized, and then they put Nintendo Switch copy controllers on here. I don't want to say Nintendo Switch style controllers, they're obviously different, but they're like a copy of the Switch style Joy-Cons, and they put it on here. So what an interesting computer. Alright, so I will actually boot up this computer and play some games on it, and we'll see what happens. So stay tuned. Alright, so now I've got the computer up and running. I've been playing around with it for the past few hours, so I'm going to tell you guys some of the things that I've discovered and my impressions of this just for the past few hours. So first of all, just a few things I want to mention. There's no fingerprint sensor, so a lot of UMPCs even and laptops these days have fingerprint sensors, but not this one. So on the OneMix Yoga 3, for example, the fingerprint sensor was like right on the power button, or beside the power button actually. This one, no fingerprint sensor, unfortunately. I don't believe it has Windows Hello either, so you just have to enter a traditional PIN. This is a touchscreen, so again, I'm not sure how useful this is for a gaming laptop, but it's definitely an option, right? So having a touchscreen definitely an option. So it's nice to have. All right, if it doesn't add any costs, it's very nice to have a touchscreen rather than not having it. This keyboard is RGB backlit, so I don't know how well you can see it because it's still pretty bright right now, but definitely you can see some of the RGB lighting behind the keyboard here. So again, that's kind of similar to a lot of gaming laptops. It's taking cues from, you know, the higher end gaming laptops and the RGB lighting. So you can definitely see that behind here, and if it's darker, you can definitely see it a lot better than now. Then going on the back, you have the Alienware Area 51M/M15 inspired UFO type of LED right here. So I don't know if you can change this color. It seems to be always blue, which is usually what I set my Alienware to anyways. But it's just cool. You know, you have this, really it's just like a miniature Alienware, right? I mean, the design is so close. You even have the LEDs in the same spot. So yeah, it is really just like a miniature Alienware in that sense, plus the RGB lighting. So those things I just want to talk about. Also, this little optical sensor here, exactly the same as in the OneMix, right? I can't say I'm a huge fan of this track point nub. I would prefer it, you know, I don't know, like the GPD P2 Max has a trackpad, right? And then the WinMax has a trackpad all the way up here. Not sure if that's actually better or not. I'm just going to say I'm not a huge fan of this optical track point nub, right? I think a lot of the older UMPCs also had maybe like a ThinkPad style nub, like kind of in the middle of the laptop, right? I think that's what the Sony VioP had. But this one, yeah. I think the first time I saw this kind of trackpad was on the Sharp NetWalker, which I did a video on like years ago. So it's interesting that OneMix decided to go with this as their pointing device. Alright, so onto the controllers themselves. Like I said, the controls themselves feel pretty flimsy, but I was wrong about this being a Bluetooth controller only. It's actually got a few different connections. So yes, Bluetooth is an option, but you also have the direct option, which is just using a 2.4 gigahertz connection, right? And that one should have less latency and input lag compared to Bluetooth, right? So the way to turn this these controllers on, so I originally thought that these arrows were like indicator lights, but they're not indicator lights, they're actually buttons. So on the left side you have back, home, and power, and then on the right side you have start, home, and power. So these are actually all buttons, so you just turn it on like this, you just press them, turn it on, and turn it on. And then in Windows you should be able to detect it as a gamepad controller. So here we go. Alright, so once you turn it on, by default, if it's on this blue light here, then by default it's in the X input mode, which means that Windows will detect this as an Xbox 360 controller. So that's what it's detecting as right now. So you can see that Windows detects it as an Xbox 360 controller by default. So once you turn on these controllers, on the default setting, it's going to use the 2.4 gigahertz band. And it's going to detect it as an Xbox 360 controller, so I can test it out right here. You can check that all the buttons work as expected. So it looks like it is connected properly. Alright, cool. So a few other things about these controllers here. It's actually quite a bit complicated to operate compared to the GPD Win. Alright, for these controllers, first, when I saw these controllers, I didn't see a charging port, so I was a little bit dumbfounded, I guess, a little bit perplexed about how these things charge. But then if you look at the bottom here, right, originally I thought that these lightning, you see this lightning icon here, I just assumed that was just for show, but it's not. It's actually a cover for a USB-C port. So you actually charge these controllers with the USB-C port, but it's hidden underneath these covers. So initially I didn't realize how I could charge these controllers, right? But then I found out later, okay, there's actually a hidden port for them. They're just covered up. Alright, so there's a few different ways that we can switch modes here. So by default, like I said, it's an X input mode, which means that the computer detects it as an Xbox 360 controller. But we can also switch it to direct input mode, and then it'll detect it as an Android PS3 gamepad. So what you have to do is hold both of these for 3 seconds, and then they'll turn green. And I know it's counterintuitive because I usually associate green with the Xbox, right? But no, turning green means that now it's a PS3 Android gamepad, which is how Windows detects it right now. So you can see here now it's being detected as a PC, PS3, like just a generic gamepad, I guess. And you can still test it to make sure that this works as well, right? It's just not going to have as many functionality as the X input. So in general, you do want to go for the Xbox 360 controllers. Only if you can't get them working, then you would go for the direct input. But I think X input should work better for most games. So I'm gonna go back to X input. Alright, and then it should turn blue. There we go. Alright, now there's a third setting here when you're on the 2.4 GHz band, and that's doing the mouse keyboard mode, I guess. So on the GPD Win 2 I have, and probably on the GPD Win Max as well, there is a switch that will let you switch between X input controller mode and mouse keyboard mode, right? We don't have such a switch on the OneGX, unfortunately. I wish they would actually make a switch for this, but they didn't. So we got to do this kind of complex combination to change things, which is really annoying, right? Because on the GPD Win, I can just flip a switch and it'll just switch between mouse, keyboard, and controller input. But here we gotta hold these buttons and stuff. It's a little bit more complicated. Okay, so to turn it into the mouse keyboard mode, you gotta go to the second button here, which is the home button, and then you gotta hold both of these for 3 seconds. Alright, now it's gonna turn orange. When it turns orange, then you know you're in the mouse keyboard mode, okay? So now it's orange. If it's orange, you're in the mouse keyboard mode, which means that now I can use my controller as a mouse and keyboard, right? So I got left click here, left click, right? Move things around, and I got right click. By default, I think these do some other actions. So this one increases the volume, this one lowers the volume. That's what the trigger buttons would do by default. And then it's the left and right click, and then, okay, moving the analog stick here would actually switch windows by default. So that's something you got to watch out for, is that these have default mappings to something, right? So, okay, that's a closed window, I guess. Closed window by default. This one's launch the start menu. Switch window. Okay, so you got to get used to this. Alright. So that's the mouse and keyboard mode. I would not use this mode for games usually, because the fact that they're mapped default to other things, like you would not want to switch windows or have your start menu pop up when you're in the middle of a game. That's just, you know, the worst thing that can possibly happen. I would just try to use the controller mode. So do not use the mouse keyboard mode unless you really have to, like maybe in some RTS games maybe you have to, but in that case I would still like plug a Bluetooth mouse or just plug a wired mouse, just use a mouse with it, right? Don't use this mouse keyboard mode. That would be still pretty bad, I think. So in general, I think I would only use this mode if I was on the desktop, right? I think it's still preferable to using this track point nub thing. This thing doesn't work very well. I don't like it. So I think I'd prefer using this mode to just when I'm doing stuff on the desktop, right? If I'm just want to use Windows Explorer, want to browse some stuff, want to install some things from Steam, maybe I use this mode, right? But I would not use it for any games. Okay, so back to direct mode. Now, there is another mode here. Oh, whoops, I gotta press the second one, yep. And then change this back. I know it's very complicated compared to GPD's switch, right? And there's another mode, right, which is Bluetooth mode. So Bluetooth mode can only support direct input, and plus it's got latency and input lag, which is why I highly recommend not going into the Bluetooth mode. But if you have to go into Bluetooth mode for whatever reason, then you have to do it by this way, okay? So right controller, you have to press down on the stick, which is R3, and you have to hold down on the power button for 3 seconds. Alright, and then it's gonna do this flashing thing, flashing purple. Same thing for the left controller. It'll hold down L3 and power button for 3 seconds. Alright, so now you see it's flashing purple. Flashing purple means now it's ready to be paired for Bluetooth, right? So now you just go into your Bluetooth, add devices, you search for the Bluetooth device, now it's in pairing mode, right? But I don't want to use Bluetooth unless I have to, so I'm going to go back to direct input. So, way to go back is just do the same thing. Yep. This is very, yeah, all very complicated. Like I said. Alright, now back to direct X input mode. Yep, which is what it is by default. Alright, so now that we've figured out, I've tried to explain to you guys how this controller works, because it's actually not that simple. It's actually kind of complicated. Then we can start to play some games. So I'm going to launch Fraps. So I have Fraps here so you guys can see some FPS settings. Now the thing with this computer is it's not very powerful. So you guys can see the specs compared to the WinMax. This runs a standard Intel HD graphics processor. There's no Iris Pro or anything. So yeah, I'm gonna guess that the performance in games is not gonna be great. So I'm just gonna try a few older titles, okay? So if you're gonna ask me why I don't try any modern titles, it's because I don't think it's gonna run modern titles very fluently. So let's try Sleeping Dogs from 2012. Alright, so this is Sleeping Dogs from 2012. I'm gonna pump up the volume to 100 so you guys can hear what the speakers sound like. In my opinion, the speakers are not too bad for considering that this is a 7-inch UMPC. Considering that, it's not too bad actually. So yeah, so we're using the controllers, of course, in X input mode, which is the default mode. Yes. Oh, I love this menu music. So good. So yeah, I know this is an old game, but it's just cool to play Sleeping Dogs, one of my favorite games of all time, portably, which is cool. So right now, in the menu at about 30 to 40 FPS. Go to the main story. And I really wish that they would make a sequel to this game, because it's like, I know like people love GTA 5 so much and stuff, and Saints Row too. But honestly, for GTA clones, this was one of the best. Especially with people who love Asia, right? This is definitely the best. Oh look, so you can see the FPS isn't very good right now. It's like 10 FPS right now. Alright, so this is Sleeping Dogs. Just started the game. You can see that it's not playing very well right now. It's only going at about 11, 12 FPS, which is not very good. But I think this is my point. I think that the OneNetbook OneGX is actually not very good for playing recent titles, the AAA titles, because I mean the frame rate here, you can see how bad it is, right? Like this is nigh unplayable because it's so slow. So you can see it was running at like 10, 12 FPS. It's not very good at all. Let me see if I can adjust the settings. Display. So right now, is it because I'm on? Okay, so gotta keep in mind this is a 1920 by 1200 display. So might have to dial. This is already on medium graphics, and this is a game from 2012, right? I might have to go to low. Might have to change this resolution as well. So let's do 1600 by 1200. Let's do save graphics level. Let's see if it runs a little bit better now. Yeah, still at like 13 FPS, 14, 15 maybe. Still pretty slow. Not very playable. You need at least 30 FPS to be playable, so it's still not good enough. Yeah. I like the parkour in this game. Cool. Yeah, so 14, 15 FPS is definitely not very good for this computer. Pretty much unplayable, basically. So that's why you're wondering why I don't play any modern, AAA titles on this thing. Is because I can't. As I expected, this thing can't really handle anything very extreme. So yeah. Even a game from 2012 on low settings, I dialed down the resolution too. It still can't run very well. 15, 16 FPS.
Fuck you.
Yeah, so.
15 years to do that. We're not kids anymore.
You can't skip it. Good, good. Okay. Should be at my apartment in Hong Kong. And yes, this game is, yeah, this display is a glossy display, so sorry about the reflection, guys, but, glossy display, what can you do, right? It's reflections and stuff. So, let's see, at least the controllers. I can't punch anyone. Let's bring up the phone. Well, at least the controllers seem to be working. Yeah, but yeah, it's not really playable. I mean, just standing around, I got like 15 FPS, so that's not acceptable, right? So yeah, it's unfortunate. I have to think that. Whoa, what's going on? Okay, something's messed up right now. I'm kind of disappointed in the OneGX actually because of the performance. It's not that great. So yeah, as you can see, game from 2012, low settings, dialed down the resolution, still ran at only 15 FPS. Let's see, let's look at another game. So I got Seven Kagura, Peach Peach Splash. Alright, finally got to the menu screen. Alright, so again, 22 FPS just on the menu screen. That's not looking good. Once we get into some action, it's probably going to be a lot lower than that. Alright. So keep in mind that this is not running at full resolution right now, and this is a game which is, in my mind, not too graphically intensive because it's a cel-shaded game, right? So it shouldn't be too graphically intensive, and yet it's still running at 16, 17 FPS, so that's not a good sign, right? The fact that this game is still running at that kind of FPS is not really too graphically intensive, in my opinion. So that's not very good. Yeah. Yeah, it's still not very playable. Alright. I mean, the controls all work and stuff. That's all nice. Right. I use all my special attacks, D-pad. But yeah, still not very playable. 16, 17, 18 FPS. Not very playable, so yeah. Yeah, this unfortunate. I mean, this is not even a graphically intensive game, right? So that's really unfortunate. So yeah. Well, I'm gonna just stop it here because it's pretty much unplayable. Even at this lower resolution, and the fact that this is not like a super graphically intensive game, yeah, that's a disappointment. Alright. Alright, well, that was Seven Kagura Peach Peach Splash. As you guys can see, was kind of unplayable. Even though that was kind of an anime style game. Alright, what should we try next? I think at the very least, so far we haven't really tried any games that are even remotely playable. Alright, another game for 2011, Duke Nukem Forever. Let's try that one. So this game is probably the oldest game that we've tried so far, so hopefully, you know, I'm hoping that the 1GX will be able to play a game from 2011, a 9-year-old game. So let's see. Okay, so let's do campaign, continue. Alright, so, okay, here I'm facing the Cyclopean Emperor or whatever.
It's down to you and me, you one-eyed freak.
Alright, so this is alright. It's not unplayable, it's still at about 30 FPS, so it's still fairly playable. It's just not like a 60 FPS thing, so it's not smooth or anything, but it's still playable though, at least. It's better than what we can say about the other games we've tried. Alright, okay, controls all work. Oh, I'm using analog right now. I don't have any ammo for my weapon. No, we have a Devastator right now. How do I get ammo for the Devastator here? Yeah, it's been a long time since I played this game. I'm gonna get ammo. Oh shit. But I'm glad to see that at least this 9-year-old game is working at least, right? If this couldn't run a 9-year-old game, then that would be really sad. Okay, yes, give me some ammo. Give me some ammo, please. Oh, he's running out of stamina. Where's the ammo? Oh, here we go. Devastator ammo, please. Alright. Well, at least we know this is playable. So, at least Duke Nukem Forever is playable. I think this is on higher settings too. So, okay. We got a 2011 game playable. But I guess it just goes to show, right, this computer really cannot run that many games. Not too many graphically intensive games. Let's go a Medieval. This is a more recent game, but is not a big budget title. I just want to see how it will run. This is a little bit more recent FPS. I wouldn't say it's the most graphically intensive game, but it is definitely a newer game. So let's try it. Oh, okay, so we can use the mouse right here. So continue. Alright guys, so this is a Medieval, and it is currently running at 20 FPS right now, and that's not very good, right, because you need at least 30 FPS to be playable. Again, sorry about the reflective display right now. There's no anti-reflective coating on this display, so it's very glossy and it's going to show my reflection, but you know, there's not much I can do about that right now. But yeah, it's not playable, even though this game is relatively recent, but it shouldn't be that graphically intensive, right? It shouldn't be that graphically intensive, but it's still definitely running below 30 FPS right now. It's about 17 FPS right now, so that's kind of a shame. It seems okay because of the fast pace of this game, but really the FPS is not very impressive. So that was a Medieval, pretty recent game. I wouldn't say it's not a AAA title or anything. Can't really run well on here, unfortunately. Oh, yeah. Alright, so those were all disappointments. Alright, what other games should we try? Yeah, I'm not sure what games can even run on this then. Let's try Fable Anniversary then, I guess. That game's also pretty old, but I mean, should be able to run that. Alright. So Fable Anniversary, okay, let's try out this game. This should be able to run because this game is way over. Wait, the Anniversary I think might have come out in 2010 or 2011, but the original game came out all the way back in like 2002 or something, right? This was like a original Xbox game, so. Alright. But let's see how it runs. Oh, it's been a really long time since I played this game. Fable. I had the original Xbox, so Fable is definitely... Fable and Fable 2 were definitely the games that I played back then, but it's been a long time. Alright, look at this, guys. You're not even getting 30 FPS on Fable. 15 FPS in Fable Anniversary. This game is originally for the original Xbox. I can't even run a game like this. Come on. Come on. This is really sad. Okay, well, expressions. Okay. Surprise trigger is an attack. Alright.
Put that weapon away. Yeah, that's better.
You have crimes to pay. No, I will not hand over the fine. Attack! Wait, let's switch weapon. Oh! Yeah, I just killed a villager. Oh, I forgot each weapon's like its own button. Attacking the villagers. Yeah. It's all because I put my weapon away. Come on. I didn't put my weapon away, so I gotta fight him. You've been fined 2,600 gold and kicked out of the area. Okay. Well, that sucks. Alright, that's sad. It can't play Fable above 20 FPS, which is sad. It's running at 15 FPS even on Fable. So, yeah, that is really disappointing. Okay. Alright, we're gonna go for one more game probably to try out after this one. Alright, let's go for Shenmue. And I mean, if Fable's like from 2002, right? If I can't play a game like that fluently, I'm actually wondering if I can play Shenmue. I can play Shenmue 2, which is from 2004, also for the original Xbox. Should be able to play this. This is the remastered version for Windows, so I hope it can play Shenmue 2, considering how old this game is. Okay. Alright, so this is Shenmue 2, and it's getting about 30 FPS. I think actually it's locked to 30 FPS right now. Probably could be getting more than 30 FPS, but I believe it is locked to 30 FPS right now, which means that it is running the same as a console version. And you know, I'm not surprised that this is running as well as it is, because there's no graphical enhancements. For Fable, even though the original Fable came out in 2002, the Anniversary Edition actually has some graphical enhancements. That might be why it's running such a low frame rate compared to Shenmue 2, because this is just a remaster. This is not, they didn't add any other graphical enhancements other than just the textures, right? So that might explain why this is running so much better than Fable, despite the fact that this game actually came out in the same year as Fable, which is like 2002, right? So yeah, came out in the same year. It's running a lot better. Probably because there's no significant graphical enhancements, but yeah. And it should be, because there's not much action going on in this game either compared to Fable. So, Oh.
Welcome to Hong Kong.
Oh god, these graphics aged so badly.
Guy?
So badly. Alright, maybe I'll play a few of those capsule games.
Yes.
I don't want to talk to you. Okay. Yeah, this game is definitely much slower than Fable. Alright, I'll just play one of those capsule machines and get on with it.
It's $5.
Yes. Oh. Bye.
I'll try it.
Okay. So here I can look over the toy I got, maybe? Yeah. I can look it over. Huh, interesting. What's so great about it? I don't know.
Again.
I'll try again. Let's buy something else. Anyways, not much to say about the performance of this game. It's locked at 30 FPS, so it's basically playing the same as a console. Are you kidding me? I got like a freaking X button. An X button from a... I'd be so pissed if I got this from a machine in real life.
I'll have some more fun.
Get this X button.
I guess not.
His voice acting so stiff. Yeah, anyways. Yeah, Shenmue 2 should play fine, right? I'd be very surprised if it doesn't. Alright, okay, there's the inventory. Alright, so yes, that is Shenmue 2 running on... I actually don't know how to exit that, so just kill it like this. Alright, so that is Shenmue 2 running on the OneGX, and that's it, guys. Just some games, a few games running on the OneGX. Most of them don't run very well. Alright guys, so I'm going to tell you the things I like about this device and the things I don't like, all the pros and cons, so let's just go through each of them. The things I do like, I like the design. I like the fact that they took the Alienware Area 51M / Alienware M15, and you can tell that the design is very inspired by that, and they shrunk it down into like a mini Alienware, and then they attached the Nintendo Switch style controllers to it. I guess they also took a lot of inspiration from the Alienware UFO concept, which hasn't come out yet. Although, you know, if the Alienware UFO actually did come out, I'd probably take it over this, because Alienware has a much bigger backing than OneNetbook. Also, I think that Alienware probably has a little bit better quality control. But I do like the design. I think, yeah, they took the fact that the Alienware came out with the UFO concept and they kind of just ran with it and created one themselves, I guess. So the design is very cool. Again, it's a mini laptop that comes with controllers like that you can choose to have or not. So that's very versatile. So the design is very cool. The keyboard is pretty good, considering it's a laptop of this size. The fact that they fit all these keys on this keyboard, even though that they're very cramped, you might accidentally hit some of the keys, but I'm not going to complain about it because they do have most of the keys here. I like the display. This 1920 by 1200 display. That's a much higher resolution than the GPD Win Max, which only has a 1280 by 800, I believe. So this display is a much higher resolution, even though it's actually a smaller display. The speakers are pretty decent, given the fact that it's a 7-inch UMPC. It's got pretty decent speakers as well. The analog sticks on these on the controllers are not bad. They're passable. So yes, those are the things that I do like about this device. Very cool looking device too. RGB lighting, of course. Gotta have all that. So those are the things I like. Actually, unfortunately, I really want to like this device. I really want it to succeed, but there's just too many cons. So let me go with the things I don't like about this device. So GPD uses a 15-watt CPU in their laptop, an Ice Lake CPU, which means it comes with a better GPU, right? An Iris Pro GPU. I have no idea why OneNetbook did not use a Iris Pro GPU, right? It just uses a standard run-of-the-mill Intel HD graphics processor. And I know that there's been rumors that they're coming out with a new version of this, like the OneGX Pro or something like that, comes with a Tiger Lake CPU. Why didn't they do that for this one? Like, why didn't they just make this one instead of a Comet Lake? Why didn't they use an Ice Lake CPU like the GPD did, right? Like, what's the benefit of using a Comet Lake CPU here? This is supposed to be a gaming UMPC, right? I mean, if this was for the OneNetbook, the One Makes Yoga, I can understand why they would use a Comet like CPU, right? It's for lower wattage, better battery life, better, just doesn't take up as much energy, right, for that. But you're not playing games on that thing. This one, you're supposed to be playing games on it. So why are you using Comet like CPU? Use the Ice like CPU, right? Sure, it's going to take up a little bit more battery and stuff, and higher wattage, but at the end of the day, you're going to be able to play more games on it. So as we saw, a lot of the games, even from really back then, right? I'm talking about old games. You can't even play a lot of the old games on here, right? They're running at 15 FPS. So yeah, that's kind of disappointing. The fact that I can't play a game from 2012 on here, even dialing down the graphics settings and resolution, I can't even play that at 30 FPS. Given the fact that this is marketed as a gaming UMPC is kind of disappointing, right? And the GPD WinMax honestly just trounces this computer in pretty much every way in the performance department, right? So I think I don't even really need to do a comparison between the WinMax and the OneGX. I already know that the WinMax is going to be beating the OneGX in pretty much almost every game, right? That has a much more powerful CPU and GPU in it. So that's the number one thing I don't like is the power. They really did not put enough power into this computer. They should have put more, given the fact that this was meant for gaming. They should have put more power into it. Yeah, like they put about as much power to this computer as the GPD Win 2, and that's a much smaller device, right? This is supposed to be competing with the Win Max, not supposed to be competing with the Win 2. Another thing, the controllers, right? These controllers feel very flimsy. I think they could be better built. I think they could have better quality control, because a lot of times I just find these controllers just stop working, right? Like I would have to reconnect them and just wait like a few minutes before it connects again. So they would just like suddenly stop working sometimes. Plus the fact that they have these flimsy keys, definitely not as well built as the Razer Jungle Cat or the Joy-Cons. Yeah, I don't know how this or even the GPD Win 2 controls, right? I might even take the GPD Win 2 controls over this. Like this is just, doesn't feel very good. Just feels very cheap and very plasticky. It's also very complicated to connect to the different modes. You could just have a switch here, just like the GPD Win does. There's no switch to transfer between the different modes, right? You got to do some complicated thing like holding this down for 3 seconds, this and this down for 3 seconds or something like that. Very, very complicated to switch between the different modes. So yeah, that's the thing I don't like about the controllers here. So yeah, I think those are my main 2 problems with this computer. Is one, the performance. I'm very disappointed by the performance, underwhelmed by it. Second of all, I'm not impressed by these controllers at all. I think they could be making much better controllers for this and put better quality control on them. And it's just too complicated to operate them, right? I can't even figure out how I can get them. Sometimes like they just randomly disconnect and I have to figure out how to reconnect them again. And it's not intuitive or obvious to figure that out. And I guess I don't like this track point nub here or these 2 buttons. Like I know this was on the One Mix Yoga, but yeah, I don't particularly like the way this is used. I think I'd rather just have a trackpad or something like that. So don't particularly like that either. Yeah, and I think that those are my main complaints basically. The ports, I'm pretty satisfied with those. This display is okay, even though it's too glossy sometimes. Yeah, I think the main thing is just the performance of this computer plus the controllers, which are a huge letdown for me. Those are the 2 main issues I have with this computer. If they improve the performance, they put Ice Lake CPU in here with Iris Pro graphics as a GPU, and then do a better quality control on the controllers. I like the form factor better than GPD WinMax. I would get this instead of the WinMax if they did that, because I actually like the form factor better. But because the controllers I think are a little bit shoddy, a little bit cheap, and because the performance is just not good, I'm still going to have to go for the WinMax, right? So I'm just going to tell people, like, for this machine, I mean, the concept is cool, right? I like the fact that they combine the Alienware UFO concept with the miniature M15. I like the design, and the detachable controllers and everything, and the keyboard. I like the backlit stuff, the LED stuff, the display resolution. All that stuff is good. It's just, yeah. That's basically my TLDR for this overview. Is I feel that the 1GX has a lot of promise, and I really like the form factor. It's just they didn't exactly implement it well. They didn't execute it well, right? I feel like they could have built better controllers for this, had better quality control, and beefed up the CPU and GPU on this thing, right? Because right now, even if you pay the most money, go up to the highest model, you're still only getting a Comet Lake CPU. So that's a 7-watt CPU. It's not going to compete with the 15-watt Ice Lake in the GPD Win Max, right? And like we saw, it doesn't have very good performance in a lot of the games, even older games. I didn't even try any recent AAA titles because there's no way they can play them. So that's basically my thoughts on this. So let me know your comments and feedback, suggestions in the comment section below. As always, thanks for watching, and that's it, guys. That's the OneNetbook OneGX. Really wanted to like this computer. Looks really cool and everything. Love the form factor, but just I feel that OneNetbook did not implement this as well as they could have. And yep, that's it.